Welcome to Modern US Midterm Game Number 2. This is Melinda Klein. Because of the shortened format from question to answer, I highly recommend you use the pause button so you don't see the answers too quickly. All right, here we go. First question, public lives for 20 points. In 1938, a radio broadcast, listened to by millions, hosted out of New York City studio, hit the airwaves an evening before Halloween. This broadcast was famous for its impact on public listeners. Name this show's host and provide a summation of the reactions to the radio program. The answer is Orson Welles. Americans panicked believing Martians had landed in New Jersey. Next question, government and rulership for 10 points. While American critics argued he was promoting socialism, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt put millions of people to work under federally funded work programs during the 1930s. Name the most popular of the New Deal work programs and 2 examples of work performed. This was the Conservation Corps, planting millions of trees, creating parks and trails, installing power, utility, telephone lines, mending fences, and when needed, fighting of forest fires. Next question, society and culture for 20 points. What 2 innovations in film technology attracted middle-class and wealthy patrons as new moviegoers by the 1930s? This decade is remembered as the golden age of the silver screen. The answer is sound and color. Next question, warfare and conflict for 10 points. What factor ended the Great Depression in Germany and later in Europe, Japan, and the USA? Rearming for World War II put millions to work. Unemployment ended. Next question, community life for 40 points. The film industry profited during the Great Depression. Not counting musicals or westerns, identify or describe 3 film categories that were popular with moviegoers. In addition, offer evidence in the form of popular actors or film titles, 1 for each category. This is a 3-part answer. I have listed several here. Screwball comedies such as the Marx Brothers or the Three Stooges, heartwarming dramas with Shirley Temple, travel adventure with King Kong and Gunga Din, animated films such as those from Disney, The 3 Little Pigs, monster movies with The Mummy, Dracula, Frankenstein, or Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, adventure films such as Sherlock Holmes or Robin Hood with Errol Flynn, sea adventures with Mutiny on the Bounty or Gulliver's Travels, and then there were the sexy dramas featuring Mae West. Next question, society and culture for 10 points. Late 19th century inventions characterized the Second Industrial Revolution. What new power source hallmarked this pivotal moment in raising the standard of living in America? The answer is electricity. Next question, government and rulership for 20 points. President Roosevelt did not suffer from the economic collapse from the Wall Street crash, but millions of investors, rich and poor, had borrowed monies on future value of stocks. By 1933, 4,004 banks had failed and customers lost their savings. What New Deal regulatory act passed into law that legally protected customers if a bank had to close? The answer is FDIC, Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. Next question, society and culture for 40 points. 1931 was a low point during the Great Depression for millions of average Americans. What dedicated citizen group advocated for early pay? They took their pleas to Congress. In the end, their demands were stymied in the Senate. Identify the group and the name of their movement. The answer is World War I veterans, and the movement was known as the Bonus March. Next question, public lives for 30 points. By the 1930s, there were millions of tons of topsoil created by dust storms heading west from the Great Plains to the Atlantic Ocean. What long-standing practices by farmers and lumber companies accelerated erosion and the general conditions of the Dust Bowl? No crop rotation by farmers, plowing of drought-resistant grasslands to produce wheat and grains, cutting entire forests for lumber, and not replanting, leading to erosion. Next question, community life for 20 points. While still controversial today, what federally owned utility company was created under President Roosevelt's New Deal? Identify the name of the U.S. company and the region it supplies hydroelectric power to. The answer is the Tennessee Valley Authority. The area includes southern states near and west of the Appalachian Mountains. Next question, warfare and conflict for 20 points. During the 1930s, the official foreign policy by European countries and the U.S. was non-intervention, known as appeasement. In 1936, Fascist Italy, Nazi Germany, supported the overthrow of democracy in Spain. What did the nations of Great Britain, France, and the United States do? This political overthrow of democracy supported the spread of fascism. Watch and wait. Allied nations did not want war with Germany, even if it meant the overthrow of democracy in Spain. No official political intervention was made to block Spain's unfortunate demise. Next question, public lives for 40 points. Anti-business presidents have supported legislation to regulate the economy and corporate operations. Name 2 American industries vital to the economy President Franklin Roosevelt and Congress chose to regulate by law. The answers are Wall Street and the American banking financial industries. Next question, community life for 10 points. Identify the controversial trial that tried and convicted two accused anarchists of murder in the 1920s. The answer is Sacco and Vanzetti. Next question, Society and Culture, for 30 points. Identify the employed American population who were largely unaffected during the Great Depression. Secondly, identify why this was so. This is a two-part answer. Population. The university-educated middle class retained their professional jobs as teachers, lawyers, government workers, and medical professionals because their immediate economic livelihoods are not dependent on fluctuations in the consumer-based industrial free market economy. Next question, warfare and conflict for 40 points. During World War II, what European bombardment inspired patriotism, not only in Europe among the Allies, but in America too? Identify the common name for this 1940-1941 event, the city targeted, and the wartime result. The event was the Blitz, the location London, England. The answer is Hitler's Luftwaffe, this is the Air Force, failed to conquer the RAF, this is the Royal Air Force. This meant the German failure to secure the air, making way for a sea-to-land invasion possible. Next question, government and rulership for 30 points. Under Democratic leadership, legislation that became the 18th Amendment in 1919 was repealed in 1933 at the height of the Great Depression. This social legislation increased deaths and did not improve American health, set the stage for a lively underground entrepreneurial economy to fill the industrial void, and failed to curb social habits. State the common name for this law and 3 factors it regulated. The answer is prohibition, the manufacture, transportation, and sale of alcohol. Next question, community life for 30 points. Where in America during the 1920s did a cultural renaissance take place? What forms of expression did this cultural renaissance include? List 2 main features that hallmarked this artistic movement. This was the Harlem Renaissance of New York City. Features included music in the form of records and nightclub acts, and also literature and/or theater plays. Next question, public lives for 10 points. Who is remembered as the president who hosted fireside chats with the American public using radio technology? The answer is Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Next question, government and rulership for 40 points. Identify 3 out of 5 key features of a fascist-run state. Number 1, government-owned businesses. Number 2, government control and/or ownership of domestic newspapers and news services. Number 3, lack of civil liberties such as freedom of speech and assembly. Number 4, rigid one-party dictatorships. Number 5, use of violence, intimidation practices, or other forms of active propaganda to channel votes, encourage popular consent to support the fascist state. Next question, warfare and conflict for 30 points. World War II occurred on the heels of World War I. Both wars differed in their scope, level of technology, state leadership, and the amount of civilian and military deaths. What stipulation of the World War I peace treaty legally prohibited Germany's potential to wage war against her neighbors? How and under what conditions did this change? Not to possess a standing army or navy. Hitler's Nazi Party supported a strong Germany, including military readiness. Their government clearly violated the Treaty of Versailles when Germany began to build airplanes and train pilots for their air force. And here is your final history question. In the 1920s, American towns and cities embraced a religious revival. This movement was especially popular in southern states. Southerners did not embrace changes advocated by progressives. What 1925 law in Tennessee supported the teaching of the origin of man from biblical accounts and not to teach in public schools Darwin's theory of evolution? Name the 1925 trial that tested this law, making national headlines. The first answer is the Butler Act, and the second part to this answer is remembered as the Scopes trial of 1925.